Hey everyone! Today we're diving into a topic that's been making headlines and stirring up emotions. The actions of ICE officers. You might have seen the shocking images of masked agents pulling people into vans or smashing car windows. It raises a big question. Is that even legal? The truth is complicated. Immigration enforcement in the US gives ICE officers very broad powers, but there are also limits. Today, let's break down what ICE legally can and cannot do, so you know the facts. First, ICE was created after 9/11, and Congress gave the agency wide authority under the Immigration and Nationality Act. That means agents can question, search, and even arrest people they suspect of being undocumented, sometimes without a warrant. The rule is, they need reasonable suspicion that someone is in the US illegally and likely to escape before a warrant can be obtained. In the past, ICE mostly went after specific individuals, like people with criminal records or existing deportation orders. But now, they're sometimes doing sweeps or dragnets, stopping large groups and then interrogating everyone to see who might be undocumented. Courts have pushed back on this. A federal judge ruled ICE can't just rely on race, language, or where someone happens to be, like a parking lot or car wash, to justify suspicion. That violates the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable searches. So, what about those masks? Recently, many ICE agents have started wearing masks or covering their faces, even inside courthouses. The agency says it's to protect officers from being doxxed online. But federal rules actually require ICE officers to identify themselves as soon as it's safe to do so. They don't have to give their personal names, but they do have to say they're ICE. Civil rights groups argue that masking up at every arrest creates fear and confusion, and likely violates that rule. Where can ICE arrest people? In public places like sidewalks, streets, or parking lots, ICE has wide latitude. But to enter a private home or business, they need that judicial warrant, or your permission. Some landlords and businesses have refused ICE entry for that reason. In the past, ICE agents tried a trick called knock and talk, pretending to be police or probation officers to get inside. Courts have ruled that tactic illegal. And then there's the use of force. Legally, ICE is supposed to use only the minimum force necessary. But in practice, we've seen agents smashing car windows, tackling people, and using aggressive tactics. Officially, force should only escalate in emergencies. But advocates say the line of what counts as objectively reasonable force keeps getting stretched. Now let's talk about warrants, because this is one of the most confusing but important issues. There's a big difference between an ICE warrant and a judicial warrant. An ICE warrant is an administrative piece of paper signed by ICE itself. It basically says, "We, ICE, believe this person is deportable." The standard here is low, just reason to believe. No judge reviews it and no court signs off. A judicial warrant, on the other hand, comes from a federal judge or magistrate. To get one, the government has to show probable cause, solid facts and evidence that a law has been broken. That's a much higher standard, and it's a safeguard to protect people's rights. Here's why that difference matters. If ICE comes to your door with only an ICE warrant, they cannot legally force their way inside. You do not have to open the door. They need a judicial warrant, one signed by a judge, to enter without your consent. So if you're ever in that situation, look at who signed the warrant. If it says Department of Homeland Security, or ICE, that's administrative. If it's a judge's signature, that's judicial. Finally, let's talk about your rights. If an ICE officer approaches you, the first question to ask is, "Am I free to leave?" If the answer is yes, you can walk away. If they say no, do not resist. But you also don't have to answer questions or hand over documents unless they show a valid judicial warrant. And remember, bystanders have the legal right to record ICE arrests, as long as they're not interfering. The bottom line is this. ICE has powerful tools, but they're not above the Constitution. Knowing the difference between an ICE warrant and a judicial warrant can be the key to protecting your rights. In these confusing times, knowledge is power. So let's spread the word and ensure everyone knows their rights. Thanks for watching, and stay informed.